Hello, everyone. I guess we're live, and I didn't even do our intro because I don't know how to set that up yet. But
Well,
yeah,
we
so
gotta
let me.
be, we gotta improvise.
Yes, we will improvise. I just want to. I'm jumping over to the.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. We are rolling live. I see us on in Comrade Muerte. I can't.
Merte.
I can't. Why couldn't I just say that word? I don't. My mouth didn't want to move that way. Sorry,
Chalk it
Comrade.
up to language barrier.
So I haven't done lives in a while on StreamYard. It's been over a year, so we're just trying to figure this out. Commie Trucker is gonna join us in just a bit. And yeah, I've done like Melon app, and they do the intros right away, and this wasn't doing it. So
Mm.
yeah, so we are live, and we have
Yeah,
people watching us. Yay!
there we go. You know, welcome to the first collective live on YouTube with our guest Luis, or Lumpy Luis, also known as Left Without Borders. Um, The collective is a network for Marxist Leninist content creators to come together and educate the masses in the science of Marxist Leninism, and to bring about in Minecraft only um, structural change to society. So, welcome and welcome, my guest, Lovely Louise.
Yeah, well, Tommy Trucker just came in, but I'm not seeing him on.
Hello, do you hear me?
There he
I hear you,
is.
but I can't see
All
you.
right. Yeah, I'm having
You're a black
issues
screen.
That's okay. You
with
could
the
just
camera.
be a voice.
I can be a void in the darkness.
You
Yeah,
can be
that works.
Mhm.
yeah.
He's in his brooding era. Well,
Yes.
Economy Trucker, I was saying to Luis, welcome to Collective Live, our first YouTube Live. Collective is a network for Marxist Leninists to come together and produce content, and to reach as many people as possible with, our education, and to bring you news about what's going on in the world. So, welcome. Thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Cobra
Yeah, of course.
Commander Cobra Commander found us again, Ivan. So
I figured he
we're
was going to come here.
good. So we're good. We were afraid because we put up one. Like I said, we I haven't done the lives yet, and so we wanted to try to do the live. So we're doing it through the StreamYard, and we had some technical difficulties. So
We're making it
it's
work.
all
We're making it work.
so, anywho,
All right.
can I bring up one thing at the beginning?
Absolutely.
Quick thing.
Go for it.
So they just put out that the cop from Parkland, Florida, um, not guilty on anything.
Wow.
They said he's not responsible. Cops are not responsible for protecting people, including children. It's not their duty. So his job of being, police officer for that school was not his duty to protect those children. And that's basically what they said in court. So anyhow, I posted this up on TikTok. Like I posted on TikTok, and the first person to comment was a cop, and they're like, "But
Nice.
I've been in situations that I've taken children away from abusive situations," and da da da. Like he's like trying to, and I'm like, "Okay, that's a whole nother error, that's a whole nother, shit show,
Situation.
right?"
Yeah.
Right.
because
And
because yeah,
and just because you maybe did one objectively good thing does not mean that the system itself overall is not rotten to its core.
yeah,
And
Correct.
this ruling is exactly, it should show every single American, even if you're not on the left, that the police are not obligated to protect you or your
Nope.
children. They're only obligated to protect private property.
Absolutely. Even the Supreme Court even acknowledged that
yeah.
they have no obligation to protect people unless
No.
they have them in handcuffs.
Right, exactly. And even then, for all the
Yes.
things that we hear about what police do in these streets, I mean, we can only imagine what happens that doesn't come to light. I mean, it's absolutely vile, and this is one of the things that people have to really understand when it comes to any sort of progressive policy, any sort of progressive politics. That when people are talking about abolition or they're talking about ACAB, they are talking about systemically the vanguard that protects private property and protects money. But it's not our money. They're not going to come and help us if somebody jacks our stuff. They're there to protect the banks. They're there to protect Lockheed Martin. They're there to protect BlackRock. They don't care.
Yep.
So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I just thought it was funny, and it was just like an hour, about 2 hours ago or something when I did that, and I'm like, oh man, like I don't know. I mean, cops have to know at this point. Like, no one believes that they're helping people. Like, they have to understand that. Like, I don't know.
What about that teenager that was by police in France, and now Paris is on fire again?
Oh yeah, I had a comrade tell me about that. I gotta pull up this text real quick. I've been so busy lately that I barely even acknowledge it. But these things happen so often now. It's like they just blend, they bleed one into another.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw it this morning, but I didn't. I didn't even bother to look into it because I was just like, oh yeah. I feel bad into it, but it's like, it's so just.
It's one after another.
It's absolutely vile.
Mm-hmm. It's a constant stream, and we're inundated with it. So each one is less significant than the next.
Right.
Was it? It was a 17-year-old, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, comrade, they put a 12-year-old boy, but.
But you know what? He could easily just be getting it mixed up because, like I said, this happens so often.
Yes.
But I think this also should show liberal Americans that precious Europe, the bastion of freedom above the United States, is no better. Maybe like the teeniest crumb better, but no, we're all living in the same capitalist neoliberal hellhole. So
and it shows in how like the UK Parliament is a one-for-one comparison to the United States Congress, and they all serve the same corporate interests.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like people don't understand the like hegemony. Do you know what I mean? They don't understand that. Yeah, you can sit there and say, oh well, that's all U.S. and stuff like that, but because the United States is like, and the white patriarchy is the hegemony, and the United States is basically fascist. I mean, they have lots of policies, and it's a system, and that's the whole thing. Just sit there and say Trump's the fascist, like no, like. Yeah, I'm sure he loves fascism. I'm sure he loves a lot of stuff that fascism does.
It's fascism. Yeah, it's fascist all the way down. It's not just one, and the next is ready to replace the former.
Right. Well, that's what liberals don't understand. When we got an international person in our chat, look at that, Carlos from Nicaragua. Bienvenidos.
Hey.
Stop making me try to say Spanish words tonight because I don't know why my mouth is.
It's all good. It's all good.
She's not moving.
But what I was saying was, liberals in America, they will criticize Donald Trump for being the clown that he is, because he's a clown, he's a piece of shit. We understand that. Hey, look, Comedy Trucker, your picture finally showed up.
Yeah, I managed to get the avatar up. So
there you go.
Get the
no, you're good.
That's a beardless one, though. We want the bearded avatar.
We'll have to throw it up there and post.
Listen. I quit. Apropos of nothing, in regards to the beard, I quit smoking this year, and I gained 20 pounds.
For you.
So I'm actually kind of nervous about shaving because I don't know what's underneath it anymore.
You're beautiful anyway.
You are.
You gotta love yourself, my friend. No, but anyway, yeah, liberals will shriek at what Donald Trump does, as they should, because Donald Trump is not a good person, and he is a fascist sympathizer. But when Joe Biden does exactly what Trump does, if not worse, they're dead silent. And I always bring up this argument with liberals. I say, when they talk about this upcoming election, and we're going to talk about that, when they talk about harm reduction and we're going to vote for the Democratic Party because it's our last bastion of freedom, I always ask them, how are migrants and some citizens who get caught up in the border states and end up going to these ICE concentration camps any freer than they were when Donald Trump was in charge?
Absolutely. And liberals shut up immediately after Biden was about the ICE concentration camps.
Yeah, and we were told we're going to push him left. We're going to push him left. You just vote for him. We'll push him left.
Left of what?
Huh?
Left of what?
What? What?
Yeah, I'm saying we're gonna push him left of what?
Oh, right. You were cutting in and out. Yeah, exactly.
Left
like, of even what? More right.
Left off a cliff? No, I don't know.
I mean, if only, but in Minecraft, my friends.
Yes, correct.
No, exactly. Like, you can't tell me that anything has objectively gotten better with Joe Biden being in charge of the country. Things have only gotten worse. The cost of living has gone up. More people are in ICE concentration camps. More people are in prisons. We are sending billions of dollars to neo-fascists in Europe. Like, how can you tell me that any of this is okay? And that if we're going to vote for him again, that suddenly things are going to be better?
I mean, under his presidency, we lost women's bodily autonomy, more immigration crackdowns. We lost, we gained more oil drilling, more public land is being devoted to oil drilling. An innumerable amount of things that are just, recently we lost affirmative action. So you can't tell me
today.
Yeah, you can't tell me that this 80-year-old man is going to make these grand sweeping progressive causes, the focal point of his presidency, when he hasn't so far, when he's refused to budge on the filibuster or stacking the court. He leases out more land to drilling when I can't step outside and breathe the fucking air because of forest fires. I mean, what do we get from another Biden presidency?
Yeah,
it's
like
crazy,
you
right?
had things canceled, Kami, tonight because of the air quality. Like, your kids' things are canceled.
Yeah, like we can't go to softball all week. They've been canceling softball because the air will kill us.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was out of the country when the first wave of toxic smoke hit New York. So when I came back, and it was like the apocalypse had just happened, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" And like, people were telling me what happened, and then hence the name Commie Nurse. Well, that morning came, and I was texting my people, and I was like, "Are we still going to work? Like, what's happening out there? Like, where are the patients? Like, what's going on?" Like, but like, not even as a joke. Like, seriously, like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Like, New York City had the worst air quality in the planet.
Oh my God, those pictures! Like, it was just orange. Like,
it looked like Blade Runner. Yeah,
I remember
looked exactly like Blade Runner.
The first time I got on a plane was in 83, 84, somewhere like that. And we went into LA, and it was gross. Like, you were just going into this. And that's what it reminded me of, like the smog that was over LA.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
It was just gross, and that's what, like, you just saw those pictures of, like, the orange tinge on the pictures and everything, and that's not healthy for anyone. I'm an asthmatic. I can't deal with
No,
it.
exactly. My office, it smelled like fire, and I started wearing an N95 indoors because I was like, I don't know what to do. Like it just smells so bad in here, but we still got to go to work. We still got to pay rent in the apocalypse.
I mean, we had it over Boston, but it didn't
Yeah.
do the whole smog thing that it did
Right.
in New York. So we did
Yeah.
get, we were having, a lot of people were having bad, like almost allergy reactions and stuff like that. It was crazy.
Right.
I mean,
So,
you're right on though when you say we're going to be paying rent in the apocalypse,
mhm.
because I had to go to work today, even though my eyes burned all day and my throat is raw.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
still
funny,
have
but
the,
like it's.
yeah. We're going to produce
I
and
don't know.
consume ourselves into oblivion.
To the very last moment. That's crazy. But going back to what are we doing about the situation? Going back to Joe Biden, Trump, and electoral politics. Let's talk about Dr. Cornel West.
all right.
So I'll let you guys open with that.
I was all right. So we were gonna kind of discuss, like, in 2015, Bernie announced, and a lot of people were like so excited, and I even remember that summer, like people, like we were trying to get in touch with the socialists of Boston. They were like, he's not a socialist. We don't want to support him, and you got to understand that. So I understand, and people wanted to know what the good side and the bad sides of Cornel West. I like Cornel West. I appreciate a lot of things that he's done. I appreciate that he's always supported the poor people's part, the poor peoples and stuff like that, like in the vein of Martin Luther King, when you had Reverend Barber doing the poor peoples, and he supports that. And, he's an academic. So he tends to not play the game of like having to explain his nuances, because that's not a game that the academics play. Like, that's not what they do. They just say what they say, and they're like, no, I'm saying this plainly. When I say stuff like Trump won because of this, I'm not saying I wanted Trump to win. So people, people read into certain things, but
Yeah.
I said to people, like, there were people that came to me with concerns, like, especially because he announced out of the People's Party, and he was part of the People's Party after, some of these issues had already come up about Brandon.
Right.
Yeah. So they're like, no, he was doing this, and now he's just running for the Greens, and it's just opportunistic. And I'm like, you know what? He's running for president, of course. Take every opportunity you can. Like, that doesn't bother me that he moved over to the Green Party. That doesn't bother me one bit. But these were concerns of people, and I'm like, I'm not going to ever tell you that you have to vote for Cornel West. I'm not. That's
right.
So, like, I am planning on voting for Cornel West if he wins the nomination in the Green Party. He still has to do that. People keep forgetting that part. But
yeah, so I think and I'm going to behave here, but I think, because I want to get my point as very succinctly. So my problem isn't so much that with Cornel West himself, strange tweet and all. It's the fact that I see probably a lot of young leftists really putting in so much hope and optimism that he will achieve what he stated that he would like to achieve. What he stated what he would like to achieve is that he wants to be the head of the empire so he could dismantle it from the inside. Now, I understand that he's trying to run a presidential campaign, so obviously he's going to say, I'm going to win. That's how you play that game. But if it comes down to participating in a bourgeois election, yes, I would vote for him. However, I think serious Marxist-Leninist should recognize that he's not going to.
Yeah.
The establishment will never let that happen. So we must be strategic with this move. That if we are going to put support behind him, we need to recognize that, one, he will not see the presidency, and two, how can we use this moment in history to spread more of the science and the knowledge and the education of socialism, Marxism, communism? We need to basically, how I see it, is use this moment to teach people who are unacquainted with our science, and when their disappointment comes, to be there as organizations, as movements, as communities, in order to, okay, what are we going to do in the next 4 years after this, in the next 8 years after this? There's no Marxist, there's no United States in Minecraft, I would say, in a socialist future.
Yeah. We had, like, first of all, just going off of what you were just saying with the timeline and stuff, is we don't do that. We don't, if you look at like how Russia runs things, like they have like a 10-year plan or that, and we claim that way, but we don't ever have those plans anymore. It doesn't come up anymore in our duopoly. It doesn't come up anymore. So yeah, there should be something created like that just for the leftists. Like, okay, we understand that Cornell's probably not going to win, but let's use this. Like, let's strategically, maybe it does get a third party, like more states, or maybe it does get, the green, maybe it's hitting at the duopoly, which is something that I wanted to do since the 90s. I mean, that was when I started voting. I'll tell you, I turned 18 right before 88, and I voted for Dukakis. Then I voted for Clinton, and 4 years later, I voted in between like the other stuff. And then 4 years after that, I didn't vote Democrat in the presidential election except for the first one. I always chose to do Massachusetts. Always kind of the Green Party seems to get on since like 2000, and I did like independence and stuff before that. So yeah, I mean, you just have to. There was a point where we thought that Bernie was going to win, and it killed a lot of people. It was just so deflating. I don't think I ever really got to the point where I really thought Bernie was ever going to win. Like, I'm kind of realistic in my goals for that. I wanted him to win. Hell, I wanted him to win, but you saw where it was going. So
right.
I also want to. This is the tweet that Ivan was bringing up. This is the tweet that they'll use. Again,
yeah. Let's hear it, and then I want to hear Economy Trucker's thoughts.
Okay.
Right before
the tweet reads: Ronald Reagan was a freedom fighter in terms of supporting our Jewish bros and sis in the Soviet Union and opposing vicious forms of communism. So I would like him to address that tweet. I mean, just in the way, like the context it came from, like why was he saying it? Because it's not.
What was going on that day?
Yeah, like what was going on and who was talking about what? I don't know. But yeah, I can see people having a problem with that. And I don't blame them. I don't. All right, go ahead.
Go for it, Tommy.
Oh, I'm just thinking. In regards to the questionable tweets, I don't care about 10-year-old tweets at all. I mean, that doesn't interest me. You don't have to hand it to Reagan under any circumstances. You just don't. But whatever, we can move past that. My interest in a Cornel West presidential run, excuse me, is purely the radicalizing power that Bernie Sanders had when he ran.
Yeah,
I feel like his run was a catalyst for millions of people to realize socialism and to get invested in communism. I mean, myself included. I mean, I had all the ideals and principles of communism. I just didn't. I lacked the language to understand it until Bernie Sanders came out, and more people were speaking on socialism, and that led to my radicalization. I feel like Cornel West can drive up that same interest and radicalize more people, whether he's a socialist or communist or not. He's going to stand for those in people's minds. He's going to be that avatar, and it could push people further left, because we don't have time to dismantle the duopoly. We don't have time to wait until the next Bernie Sanders can run. We have to radicalize people now, and that's as far as my interest in the whole thing goes.
And I feel like it I never would have met the two of you. Honestly, if it wasn't for Bernie, I wouldn't have met the two of you, because, I would still have been floating around trying to figure it out. Because, and two, like, I read theory when I was younger and stuff like that, and I didn't have a lot of time when I was working a lot. But I understand it better now too. I've had a different life experience since then, so I've understood it better. And I'm glad. Like it was always there. Like Tommy Trucker was saying, it was always there with him. But you couldn't you
didn't have the language for it. If you don't have, if you grew up before the internet, before social media, and you didn't have the works presented to you, then you weren't gonna understand. You would have no language for it.
Yeah, I think for me, for sure, really being introduced to socialism as a concept, even though I would say Bernie's not a socialist, but even just understanding it as a concept outside of capitalist monopoly, pretty much really started with him, because at least for me growing up, it was just pretty much Republican all the way through, until I was, a young enough adult to understand what was happening, and that there was this guy named Bernie Sanders, and he was trying to change things. And that's what, struck a chord with me. So, shout out to, homie. I wish you didn't lose your way, but, it is a start, and I do agree exactly what you said, Tommy Trucker, that if Cornell's, I don't know, existence might be a weird word, but like if Cornell's run can get enough more people interested into the door, and then we, in our works, in our content, in our art, in our live streams, in our organizations that we're a part of, can then come in and capture the minds, so to say, it's only a net win for us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I think, I know the three of us, we get it, that, more has to happen than just he's going to be the president, he's going to win, and then communism will rise. Like, we know that, but I do think some people on the online, and you'll always find weirdos on the online, don't get
I know. But what we need to do is make sure we present the Cornel West run as secondary to whatever else whatever actions we're promoting, whether it be Stop Cop City or anti-homeless sweeping. We need to present those front and center, and whatever electoralism is going on in the background, we can give a nod to it or whatever, but that's secondary to the actual actions on the ground and the organizing.
Exactly. 100%.
And in the comments, they were discussing, Chomsky and Parenti. If Parenti is the person that you need to read.
Hey, Carlos.
You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
I think Parenti. Yeah, Carlos, thanks for coming in. I think Parenti is so much more radicalizing because of the manner with which he speaks is akin to like a George Carlin, he has that personability, and he has that ability to work the crowd, and people latch on to that. And he's just so much more eloquent because he just speaks to people the way they understand.
I was lucky because I found him young. So like me trying to read Lennon, and I've said this. I work on the show Lit
with Lennon.
Lit with Lennon. I don't know why I can't talk tonight, people. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Tommy Trucker knows what I do, so I work on that show. And one of my things that I said, like, Edna was like, can you come and help? You told me you'd help produce the show, and should get into it. And I was like, I thought Lennon had to be dry, so I was reading Lennon in this dry tone because I just believed that the man had to be a very dry sort of man. I don't know my conceptions, I guess. I don't know. But so I wasn't getting some of it, so it was harder. But Parenti was the one that I was like, oh, I get imperialism now. Like right away. Like you made me understand it immediately.
Yeah. And I just want to, no, go for it.
No, I was just going to say, Pravda commented that he thinks he was, or they think they were born communist.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, I think everybody is born a communist. Because we all have that basic understanding that if you have two of something and someone has nothing, then you give that to the one and to the person in need.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all born understanding that we have to cooperate and share.
It's the only way. No, exactly. It's the only way that we have survived as a species. And quick anecdotal, the first signs of human civilization were human beings taking care of disabled people. Mm-hmm. They found that young woman's remains. I think it was somewhere in Europe, like several 100,000-year-old remains.
Yeah.
That and she had crazy amount of dental caries and deformed bones. Where basically they realized that the people who were with her were essentially carrying her around her whole life and feeding her sweets. People say humans are people say humans, we're just animals, we're just cancer. No, we're not. Those were people back then who were up against way more difficult odds than we are now. And they saw somebody who needed to be taken care of, and they loved that person. I mean, that's what this is about.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, for the first 100,000 years of our existence, we've been communal and anti-hierarchical. We've been helping each other and doing what's needed to be done to help the least of us. And there's been several, like you said, there's been several instances found in remains of people caring for those in need. Not because they were going to get anything material out of it, but because it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. No, man. Based as always, guys. Based as always, really. I have to say, this is why I love talking to you guys. But going back to Parenti, he's definitely top tier. I definitely, I'm doing a study group right now with Black Shirts and Reds. I truly believe that Parenti is a Marxist writer, modern theory written. Some people who get really stuffed up in the ideology think that there's no new Marxist writing, which is dumb. But yeah,
it has to evolve. It has to evolve. I'm like, that's the whole thing. Like this is like. Ashley even says like, oh, we just follow Lenin. Lenin did it. Lenin won. Da 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 da. But I'm like, there's still like, there's still some things that are different than what it was in Russia in 1917. There's definitely things that we have to take into account now, and we know, we know what worked and what didn't work.
Right.
Exactly. So. We have, like, you always evolve. Marxism, even the whole thing, he was saying, like, it's always going to be going, like it's supposed to be. Like, he's talking about go into capitalism, then we're going to move out to socialism, then we're going to move out, and then there's going to be a withering away of the state. you know?
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
he talks about the whole thing. And so it is constantly moving. It is not this trapped in, 1870. Marx,
Right. Right.
what I mean? It's not that. And, you can, people will take things out of context or interpret things the way that they want to or whatever. But like, as long as, the basic principle is that, like,
Our theory
I
has
go
to
back
evolve.
to, what did you say?
I was just going to say our theory has to evolve as we do.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Exactly.
like, I go off of the whole, like, and it was something that, Bakunin brought up as an anarchist, but, and Marx hated him. But there's also communists that said the same thing. Like, I'm not everybody's free. Like that is the basic thing. And that's where you have to think, like, as long, this whole class consciousness, it all comes down to everybody needs to be free,
Right.
and
Exactly.
so that's where it lands. And whether, that takes form in us having a bloody revolution or, whatever. like
Right.
we'll figure it out, and we're gonna make mistakes. It's gonna happen, but all we can do is try to do the best for everyone.
Right. Exactly. Someone just set up a firework. No, exactly. Lumpy, you're exactly right. Before I forget, actually, no, I want to say this real quick. I feel like one of the worst hindsights about Marxism is the fact that it's called Marxism. Because like our opponents, they hear that and they're just like, oh yeah, that means it's old ideology that doesn't change and you just worship some old dead white guy. Like, no, I feel like it's one of the worst things that came of it. It's like, dang, bro, I wish we just came up with a different name. But it is what it is.
Well, they always, but that's what they were doing back then. They still kind of do it now. Like, people will, so if somebody has an ideology, they'll call it that. Like, Bakuninism, they had, like, and people don't get that.
Yeah.
Like, Kropotkianism, like, they used all those terms because it was,
exactly.
the ideology of that person. Though Marx and Engels actually wrote it, so why don't we use Engelsism? But
right, it's the same thing in the medical field. Like, there's all these different things. They're all named after somebody. Like Babinski reflex, like when you run your hands across, like, up somebody's fucking foot, and then their foot, like, their toes will stretch out. Babies do that. Like, that's a Babinski reflex.
I just did that with my kid. I'm highly suggestible, people.
We brainwashed you. You're in the tanky chat. So I wanted to bring up also this supposed Wagner coup in Russia.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I really want to get into that for a second, because I feel like I made a video on this. I don't know if you guys saw it, but so I feel like the situation that developed in Russia really points out who I think really understands. I wouldn't say really understands Marxist-Leninism, but at least understands Marxist-Leninism in a sense of its anti-imperialist goals. So what I mean by that is, like, at least for me, and I think you guys, but at least for me, support for any nation state is always within context, and it always has to be done critically. Nothing is just done blindly. So when we recognize NATO and American aggression in Europe, we can understand why the nation state of Russia has done what they've done. And we can understand how the everyday citizen in Russia would feel about American and NATO intervention and aggression. So there he is. He's here. You can see his beard in all its glory.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
It's like a flash.
I'll put him back here, but
all right. Well, anyway, as I was saying, So that being said, so when we hear that, the West is doing poorly in the war, they're spending all this money, or they're not able to just re-Balkanize Ukraine and not re-Balkanize Russia, that is a net positive, because any blow to the empire is a net positive for the working people around the world. And as long as the United States exists in the current apparatus that it does, this is a joke, FBI, worldwide proletarianism will not be ever able to be taken power. So that being said, when Wagner had decided that they were going to go against the Russian government and those goobers started blowing punches with each other, that's also a net positive, because Putin and the Russian Federation, they're not good people. They're capitalist oligarchs, just like the United States. So while I may support you slugging out with NATO, I'm not going to support your use of a private military, a corporation with a private army, unlike Blackwater and Academy in the United States, who usually did security jobs, or they came in after the fact to do the dirty work. These are frontline soldiers. I mean, and I think people don't really. I think they hear PMC and they don't realize that the C part of it really means like a company. You're getting paid. This is like it's like Amazon. Like, all right, here you go, buddy. Like, welcome to the team. Like, it's crazy that that's an apparatus of like that still exists, and it's really abhorrent. So I was all for let the Russians and Wagner slug it out, because a private military company the size of Wagner turning on its oligarch holders is a peak capitalist contradiction. Capitalism grows so much, and it incentivized so much profit to raise a private army, and now that private army is basically saying, go fuck yourself, we're going to do whatever we want. I mean, I don't know, it's just like chef's kiss, a big middle finger to capitalism. But my point being, where we see Marxist-Leninists online or in real life or whatever, if they're upset that this will somehow disrupt Putin's oligarchs, I think you need to reevaluate your positions.
Yeah, that's my whole thing. I am not for world leaders. I know someone's in there saying Kropotkin is mid, but I'm probably more anarcho-communist. So, But anyhow, I am not a fan of any world leaders. So when I, here I am, I'm I get what Russia was doing, and I was not happy when Wagner did come in, because at first, we're all there's no Wagner, because they were, they're saying there's Wagner, but they did their crap in Africa for Russia, and they're they weren't always great people, or okay, they were not great people, but
I was gonna say,
so they're just I mean, mercenaries are just they can just do whatever they want. And so say that one of the things that did happen that prompted this was that Putin was trying to get them all to sign on to his army. And that's why the head of Wagner, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name because I'll get it wrong, was, I mean, that's one side, that's one little thing that at least Putin was trying to enfold them into the act. They weren't, mercs anymore. You know what I mean? But I mean, he used them for a year over there as mercs. So,
it's but exactly, that's just, again, it's peak capitalist contradiction. Let's try to in a weird way nationalize our private army again, but not in a socialist way. We're just stop fucking around because you're doing too much. You're getting too powerful. You've got too much dip on your chip. We got to pull you back. I don't know. That's crazy. What do you think, Tommy Trevor?
I'm sorry, I missed almost all of that.
Okay, I'll summarize real
But
fast.
I will say that it's a mercenary group.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Right.
what do we expect? They're gonna try to fleece as much as they can out of whoever they're working for, and
Right.
and I'm sure the United States would be more than happy to incentivize any mercenary group to work against Russia.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Um,
it's not a
Yeah.
surprise.
Cobra's saying, what I heard is that Proggy, I'll say Proggy, uh, knew he was on his way out. Guy knew he was getting replaced, so he did the big whole silly show as a last thing. I mean, who complains about soldiers dying in war? Yeah, I mean, the friendly fire thing, like, it happens, like, all the time. Excuse me, my father is now interrupted.
we got a fourth guest.
Unscheduled guest, though. He's deaf, and so he might come in here and Tommy Trucker has witnessed him telling stories while I'm trying to record.
That's great. He went on like a 15-minute tirade in the middle of our show once. It was great.
Yeah, it's good.
I love that. Oh man, I would have. I gotta look
He's
up
not fully deaf. He's hard of hearing, so he doesn't.
Right.
He might not hear that. And probably because I talk to myself so much, he probably just.
Right. He's right. Her and her imaginary friends. Oh man. No, but what I was saying, Comedy Trucker, when you were trying to get back into the chat, and I think you pretty much would agree with everything I'm about to say. But quick summary, recap. As Marxist-Leninists, we support when the empire gets L's. So if their proxy war against Russia is going bad, that's a net positive. But when Putin and his mercenary groups start fighting each other, that's also a net positive. And if you're a communist and you are upset that Wagner and Russia are fighting each other, then I think you need to reevaluate your position.
Yeah, there's no good actors in this war.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
we stand with the working class in every conflict. That's it. You know, that's who our allegiance is to. The impoverished and the working class. That's it.
And I think the liberal base, they don't understand when we make content pointing out Ukrainian fascists, because they don't understand that we're Americans. That's our money. That's what could be going to our working class.
Yeah, I think it's
Nazis. If we were in Russia, we'd probably be saying something different about the Russian government, or who knows? The conditions are different.
Look, it's never a good idea to arm Nazi battalions. It's just a bad idea. Let's not do that. And then people come back and say, well, what about Russia? Well, we're not arming them either. Okay, so what the shit, guys? Come on.
Right.
Yes. So
as soon as Ukraine can send me a picture of their soldiers without some pseudo-Nazi insignia, then I'll support them. But until then, yeah.
That's why TikTok. No, go on.
No. I was just saying it's nuts how much, like, we can sit here and say, okay, Wagner is bad. Like, we know Wagner is bad. Like, we're not saying, and we actually don't want all the Ukrainians to die at the hands of Russians. No, that's not what we want. You know what I mean? Like, I did understand why Russia went there. And the biggest part was, I mean, they can say, they were helping the Russian-speaking people. Yes.
Yeah.
But it was mainly the NATO stuff. They were pushed there. It's our proxy war, and like, so.
But we also can't minimize the reality of the Donbass and the brutality that Ukraine was inflicting on those Russian-speaking people.
Yes.
It was a genocide.
Yes.
So,
no, it definitely was.
It take place as well.
I saw online, I don't even know if it's true, but I saw online that apparently Zelensky is not holding a general election.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right. So I saw that and I brought it up to some people, and people are resistant to that idea because he's still the TV good guy. People are saying, well, you can't do that during a war because it's just violence and destruction. So my counter to that is, okay, so why did the people in Luhansk and Donetsk have general elections when they were getting shelled by Ukrainian forces? They came out, they did it. So it's almost like the neoliberal establishment has gone full mask off. Because we know that the country's been illegitimate for the last 10 years. We know that bourgeois elections, for the most part, are not free and fair. So it's just kind of, again, full mask off. Like, we're not even going to pretend anymore. We're not even going to allow the potential of somebody to come in here and end this war democratically.
I was just putting up Carlos's things in the chat. They're talking about, fascism is also present in Latin America. I mean, fascism right now is present because, where capitalism is, there's fascism.
Yeah, Cobra Commander said the working class in Ukraine have been murdered or beaten to submission, so it's impossible for Ukraine to do class war. Carlos also said Israel is pretty strong in Argentina.
Yeah. I want to, while we're highlighting Carlos's comments, particularly because I think you would be interested in this, Carlos. As I said, Collective is a network for Marxist-Leninists to come together, and its members are also going to have their own YouTube channels where we will also, in conjunction, post our content. So I'm announcing my own channel, but I'm working with some other people called El Mundo de la Gente, so the people of the world, and we're going to be looking at class struggle in America, in South America, Latin America, and its fight against fascism, against neo-capitalism, from a Latin American lens, Marxist-Leninist lens. So I figured you'd probably be interested in that. So I thought this was a good time to say that. But that being said, Carlos, you are absolutely right. Fascism is very much present in Latin America, and how do you mean by Israel is pretty strong in Argentina? Do you mean like there's a lot of support for Israel in Argentina?
Yeah, I think
I would believe it. I would believe it 100%.
Yeah. That's how I took it, anyways.
Mm.
Yeah. So he was answering. This one is an answer to we are the third right to Argentina mainly.
Oh, right. I see that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. A lot of Nazi hunters ended up in Latin America looking for Nazis, looking for people in Argentina.
Yep.
And yes, Carlos said yes, support for Israel. Ridiculous.
So, basically, I'll like people don't. I remember 2017, people are like, there's people are saying there's Nazis and there's no Nazis, you know what I mean? And this was all the liberals, you would say, okay, you got to watch out for this, these people, they're talking to your kids, they're doing this and that, this is stuff that we were saying from the left, and the middle was sitting there going, no, it isn't. You're crazy. And then all of a sudden go to Ukraine and we're sitting there bringing it, and they're like, no, all of a sudden, first of all, you go to, what happened down in Charleston, down in Virginia, and the Charleston, right? Town. I always get the two of them mixed up. I'm sorry, but just Charleston. But and then they're like, oh, there's Nazis, and then Trump gets it. Trump's in, so there's Nazis now. Only because Trump was in. They're always there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. We could have Cornel West. And there'd be Nazis everywhere. You know what I mean?
What about the? Did you guys see the clip of Trump saying he would enforce the immigration laws restricting communists and Marxists from coming to America?
Yeah,
that's pretty great.
I like it. I got to give Trump credit in the sense that he's pretty funny. Because he's just like a cartoon character, cartoon evil guy. What he does is not cartoonish, but he's just like a fever nightmare. But
Rick Scott said that we're not welcome in Florida.
I told
we're not gonna like it there.
My wife just got back from Florida a week ago, and when she saw that, she was like, "All right." I mean, there's pride flags everywhere. Everybody was communist out there.
Oh my god. Sorry, I'm
So,
real quick.
oh, you wanted to
No, exactly. Shoot. Right, like there's Florida, especially. Like, yeah, you have a lot of gusanos, but there are communist organizations down there. So, but at the same time, people like Rick Scott and people like Donald Trump, they don't know what a Marxist is. They don't know what a communist is, like at all. They're just saying what they have to say to get people to follow the base. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wonder what the MAGA communists think of Rick Scott and this. I wonder.
Oh, because they're MAGA before they're at all communist.
Oh, okay. So
they don't give a shit. The communist affect. It's an aesthetic choice.
I just don't understand. Like, you really have to be like a suburban white kid to understand, to even entertain that idea that like we have national pride in our country. Boy, the United States is founded and based off of genocide. There's no way forward in this situation. This country is based off the deaths of millions of people. It's the same thing with Israel. Should Israelis be proud of Israel? Like, that's crazy, dude.
I was like, it was put to me like this: like, if you're in like I'm gonna say third world because that's what's coming to my stupid head. But if you're in one of those countries, like an African country, and you have nationalism under being, colonized and imperialism and stuff like that. That if you have nationalism and you're in one of those, states that are being oppressed, that's okay. Like, you should have nationalism because you should care about your country. You should do that. But when you're in the imperial beast, when you're in the core, no, like,
yeah, it's the whole it's the whole argument that white supremacists put forward when they say, well, I can be proud of being white because black people are proud of being black, when the whole purpose is that being black in the United States in and of itself is a struggle. You're oppressed, you deal with marginalization, your life is at risk every day. So you should take pride in withstanding that kind of repression. Being proud of being white in the United States is being proud that you're repressing everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly. Because being whiteness is a label that was created by, I'm pretty sure it's the Portuguese in like 14, whatever the fuck, to distinctly separate themselves from not only chattel slaves, but people, the indigenous that they were discovering. So like, that's why I've said it before, and I do mean it in sincerity. Like, when people say like, oh, well, I hate white people or something like that, like, what we're talking about is the title, the privilege, and the person who truly wakes up and says, I'm white, I am better than you. Mm-hmm. And you could also be a European person, but if you're the wrong European person, like if you're west of Berlin, you're the wrong kind of white, and you're not accepted. That's why you have these liberals saying crazy stuff like orcs. That's fucking wild. How dare you call somebody that? That's crazy. I don't know, man.
That's obscene. That's right. That people are getting away with that.
A few months back, I did the exercise of I said something about the like not having being white and like being proud of being white. Like, so all these people would come up. I'm proud of being white. I go, okay, why? And there were ones like, it was just like the stupidest answers. They could not come up with one single reason that was like I'm proud of being white because I'm Irish. That doesn't even make sense.
But you're Irish. You're proud of being Irish.
You're proud of being
So,
like
right.
Stupid things like that are like because we did this, and I was like, oh wait a second, like they listed like 5 things, and 4 of those things was like a black man did. I'm like, oh wow, that wasn't.
We invented peanut butter. Wait.
It was like literally, like I'm like, how did they pick like out of 5 things? Like they couldn't even come up with 5 things. Look it up on the web, like white man invented, and then just tell me like, and then again, that doesn't even matter because they just stole it from someone probably.
Right, exactly. It's like white people being like, I made this new cuisine, call it Tex-Mex. Like, be fucking for real, bro. Like, oh man, I don't know. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
But Magna Cosmism is crazy. Pause is crazy. All these people on Twitter are crazy. Get off of Twitter. Please join an org. I don't know.
MAGA communism to me is the same as the American libertarians. Like, if you are, and I know most of you are all like Marxist Leninists, but like if you're an anarchist, if you're truly like a leftist anarchist, you don't believe in capitalism, and anarchism would not, like, in everything it would be against capitalism, even if you look in the individualism and stuff like that. Like if you look at the first people that wrote about it, like capitalism was not part of it, and they just took that in, and they took all the things they wanted from anarchism and then just made it as a capitalist label. And yeah, so I don't know. Yeah,
absolutely. No, spot on. Oh man. All right. I think we did the thing, my friends.
Yeah.
We did the thing. Hooray.
All right.
I think
I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it was cool. Thanks you guys so much again for coming to Collectives.
And Cobra Commander for coming in and chatting.
Yeah, right. We had a little party going on in there. Thanks, chat. Thanks, Cobra. Thanks, Morte. Thanks, Carlos. Thanks, Luis. Thanks, Trucker. Super base for you guys to come on to Collective's first live. Whenever you want to do this, let me know. I'll try to make it work. You guys want to post your own content on there? Go for it. We're still trying to work out some kinks. Like, we got to get the Discord up and running. We're going to have our own little chat in there for content creators as well, where we all talk about ideas and whatever. And yeah, going forward, let's keep an open line of communication. Let's do this again for sure. Every Thursday we're trying to do our own lives. Obviously,
were you keeping it like this time? Like you wanted to do 9:00 tonight, so this was like the first live that we were doing, right? Oh, you guys did.
So this is our first live with a guest.
Okay. Yeah, you guys did a few nights ago, right? So
we did one a week ago, and then in about an hour we're gonna do another one.
Nice. Okay.
With the I don't want to say main squad because that sounds kind of weird, but the main squad. But obviously that's not gonna always, it's not gonna be always exclusive. We're just still working out some kinks here and there, and then going forward,
you guys
see us on there.
You guys are the vanguard. We're just the backups. That's cool.
Yeah.
Whatever.
We're left without borders. Commie Tracker and I, and it's on the Left Side Chat channel on YouTube.
Yes.
So Left Without Borders.
Left Without Borders. Pretty based. Pretty good at this. Check them out. Please check out my own channel when I have videos up. El Mundo de la Gente, the People's Worlds, and stay based, everybody.
Hey, if you don't mind, can I shout out Left of the Projector Pod?
Go for it. Oh yeah, our boy Evan. Absolutely.
Yeah. I just the other night went on with Evan and another guest, and we discussed Patriot games, and that was a lot of fun.
Can you explain to Evan that he can't have you, that you're mine?
Look, He's got me lined up for 2 more episodes.
He can't have you. Just let him know that.
Coaching me. Look, Jen, I need those health benefits. You're not giving them. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. All right, well, if he's going to give me health benefits,
it's all Evan's fault that the movement falls apart because we're fighting for Call Me Trevor.
No, I had a blast because last time we discussed Dune, which is a childhood favorite of mine, really got me interested in science fiction. So he lets me come on and just completely nerd out, and but yeah, check them out.
Yeah, I don't do enough of the dystopian.
Yeah, you're not a nerd.
Watches, so we don't. I know I will though. You just have to tell me what I need to watch.
Okay, start reading comic books. All right,
I've read comic books.
Play Magic the Gathering. All right.
Never played Magic.
And then read A Song of Ice and Fire, and we can chat.
I played Dungeons and Dragons once.
This is good after credits. Anything else you guys want to shout out?
No, we're all set.
All right, y'all.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
See if the fun will work.